After I lost my memory, I forgot my toxic ex-girlfriend. The woman I had loved for years lost her memory, and I was the only person she forgot. No matter how hard I tried, she couldn't recall any of our memories together. She even started treating me like I was crazy. It wasn't until I overheard a call with her best friend that I finally understood what was really happening. Amnesia? Please, she had said. I just wanted to spice things up a bit. I wanted to see the look on his face when he had to watch me with another guy. Completely helpless. My blood ran cold in an instant. I told her we were through, and I agreed to the brain surgery, the one that came with a risk of amnesia. Olivia didn't react at all when I broke up with her. Of course she didn't. She was committed to her role as an amnesiac who no longer remembered I was her boyfriend. I was at her apartment packing my things when she happened to get home from the hospital. A handsome young man was with her. I figured this must be the guy she was using to spice things up. She had just been discharged and already couldn't wait. "What are you doing in my house?" she asked. Seeing her play dumb, I knew it was pointless to argue. You can never wake someone who is only pretending to be asleep. The man beside her spoke up instead. "He broke up with you. He's here to get his things." Olivia snorted and warned me. "I honestly don't remember ever being with you. But since that's what everyone is saying, I'll take your word for it for now. Just make sure you're careful while you pack. Don't take anything that isn't yours." Her indifferent tone was so convincing it almost seemed like she really had forgotten me. If only I hadn't overheard that phone call. But if she really didn't love me anymore, or just wanted to break up, she could have just told me. I'm not the type to beg and cling. I would have just left quietly. Why did she have to put on this elaborate show and make everyone play along? It made our entire beautiful history feel tainted and disgusting. I couldn't be bothered to call her out on her lie. I just replied calmly, "If it's not mine, I don't want it." I went back to packing my things while the two of them stood over me, watching my every move like a pair of hawks. They would occasionally flirt or even share a kiss right in front of me. All the intimate things we used to do were now being performed with someone new. I guess she was right. It was probably more exciting for her to do it right in front of me. I finished packing quickly, as it was just a few changes of clothes and some personal items anyway. Forcing my emotions down, I held up the bag. I interrupted their flirting to ask, "Miss Campbell, do you want to check this?" She shot me an annoyed look and said coldly, "Just take it and get out. Don't bother us." A sharp pain seized my chest, and my eyes started to burn. I dragged myself out of her apartment, and it wasn't until I was around the corner that I finally let the tears fall. A few moments later, my phone rang. "Mr. Evans, since you've made your decision, please come to the hospital as soon as you can to discuss the surgical plan and schedule." Even before I broke up with her, I had already told my doctor I would do the surgery. For a while now, I had been having constant headaches and was unable to sleep through the night. An MRI revealed a tumor in my brain. They caught it early, so it was still benign, but the doctor warned it could turn malignant if I waited too long. I had been putting it off because of the risk of amnesia. The doctor said I could forget a lot of things. I was afraid I would forget Olivia, just like she had supposedly forgotten me. But the moment I found out she was faking it, just toying with my emotions, my mind was made up. I was having the surgery. Being alive is more important than being in love. Maybe while they were at it, they could cut out the part of my brain that was so foolishly devoted to her. The surgical plan was confirmed quickly, but the cost was astronomical. I needed to figure out how to get the money. I was a top art student in college where I also picked up photography. After graduating, I made a decent living with those two skills. But living in a city as expensive as Los Angeles, I hadn't managed to build up any savings over the last couple of years. As I took the elevator down to the lobby, I ran right into Olivia. With her was her new boyfriend, Ethan, his arm wrapped around her waist. "Lucas, what are you doing at the hospital? Are you sick?" Olivia asked, her brow furrowed slightly. I found that strange. Wasn't she supposed to be faking amnesia? Why the sudden concern for me? I couldn't be bothered to engage, so I just gave a vague answer, visiting a friend. "Which friend?" The moment she asked, Olivia realized her mistake and quickly fell silent. But she kept looking at me with a probing, suspicious gaze. I almost had to laugh. With acting skills like that, she should have been a movie star. Hollywood was missing out on a real talent. Seeing his chance, Ethan tightened his grip on her waist and said with false concern, "Olivia, you skipped such an important meeting just to come with me for a checkup. Are you sure that's okay?" Such a childish game. He was just saying that nonsense to show off in front of me. Was all this drama really necessary for an ex-boyfriend you had already dumped? The sheer absurdity of it all made my head throb. I tried to leave, but Ethan blocked my path. "Mr. Evans, you look a little pale. It's not some embarrassing illness you can't talk about, is it? Why don't you come over to our place later? Olivia said she's making me some soup. You can have some too." I frowned, glancing at Olivia in surprise. In all the time we lived together, she never once made soup for me. I always thought she didn't know how to cook. But it turns out she just hadn't met someone she felt was worth the effort. "Excuse me, I have to go," I said, trying to walk past them. "What's the rush? You've never had Olivia's soup, have you?" When I ignored him, Ethan actually followed me, grabbing my arm. "What's so urgent? We can give you a ride." His constant pestering was getting on my nerves, and with the throbbing in my head getting worse, I instinctively yanked my arm away. But for a grown man, he was surprisingly delicate. He actually staged a ridiculous scene where he stumbled and fell. "Mr. Evans," he said, "I was just trying to be nice, and you attack me? Isn't that a little uncalled for?" Ethan picked himself up off the floor, his face a mask of pain, as if he were seriously hurt. I glanced outside at the bright sunshine. The performance was so bad it was comical. "Lucas, are you trying to start something?" Olivia came over, shot Ethan a concerned look, and then turned on me, her voice icy. The fall was so fake, worse than a bad stunt doubles. How could you not see through it? Was he made of glass? I pull my arm away, and he just collapses. I shot back, my own voice turning cold. A flash of anger crossed Olivia's face, and her eyes were like daggers. "You're just making excuses. Apologize to Ethan right now," she demanded, "or else you know what I'm capable of." With Olivia backing him up, Ethan couldn't hide the triumphant smirk on his face as he stared at me. As the daughter of a wealthy family, Olivia had a million ways to make my life a living hell. With a single phone call, she could make sure I never worked in this city again. At that thought, I forced myself to swallow my anger. By then, a few onlookers had pulled out their phones and started recording, muttering insults at me. What is wrong with that guy? Someone tries to be nice, and he gets violent. Probably just some lonely guy who's jealous of happy couples. He must be seriously messed up. Listening to them, I felt a vain throb in my temple, and the pain in my head intensified. Ethan then played the victim, taking Olivia's hand. "Olivia, it's okay. It's understandable that he's emotional," he added. "But Mr. Evans really does have a bad temper, a bit of a violent streak even. You must have had a hard time when you were with him." That comment set off a fresh wave of murmurs from the crowd, most of them directed at me, and I even heard someone yell out that I was a toxic jerk. "Well, are you going to apologize?" Olivia's face remained cold, her eyes fixed on me with a clear warning. Under the pressure of all the staring, I finally gritted my teeth and muttered, "I'm sorry. It was my fault." My body was trembling slightly from the effort of holding back my rage. For a second, a flicker of some unreadable emotion crossed Olivia's face. "Can I go now?" When she didn't answer, I turned and walked away as fast as I could. I didn't want to stand there like a clown for everyone to gawk at. "Lucas," I heard her call after me, the sound of her footsteps following, but she stopped. I heard another voice, Ethan's. "Olivia, I feel really dizzy. Can you help me get to a doctor?" Unbelievable. Such drama queens. I wish they would just get roles in a movie and leave me alone. I was so tired of it all. I didn't want anything more to do with them. 2 days later, my boss assigned me a huge project. The client wanted a photography session and a hand-painted oil portrait. I was the only one in the studio who could handle a commission like that. My boss also mentioned the client was paying top dollar. It would be more than enough to cover my surgery, with plenty left over. I accepted the job without a second thought. It was only later that I found out the client was Ethan. He had specifically sought out our studio and requested me by name. My job was to take their engagement-style photos and then paint a portrait of them as a loving couple. The day of the shoot arrived quickly, and I brought my gear to the designated beach. Out of pure habit, I knew exactly which angles would best capture Olivia's beauty. It didn't matter who she was with. I could always frame the perfect shot of her. With that as the foundation, the poses, the gazing into each other's eyes, the embraces, and the kisses were all just icing on the cake. The entire photo shoot went smoothly. One sweet, romantic image after another was captured with each click of shutter. And through it all, I felt absolutely nothing. My heart was as still and empty as a dried-up well. As we wrapped up, I needed them to choose a photo to use as the reference for the painting. Ethan took the camera and started scrolling through the images. "Mr. Evans, your photography skills are incredible," he said. "And your composure is impressive, too. You don't seem affected by this at all." I could hear the mockery in his voice, but what did it matter? It was just a job. "I'm glad you're both happy with the results." After a few minutes, Olivia and Ethan selected a photo. "Let's use this one for the oil painting." In the shot, they were holding hands with their backs to the sunset, their smiles radiant and sweet. The brilliant colors of the sunset made everything look perfect. I stole a quick, unnoticeable glance at Olivia. My first photo with her had also been taken against the sunset. We were so shy back then, our awkwardness revealing a kind of youthful innocence. I wondered if she even still had that picture. But it didn't matter. Whether she kept it or threw it away had nothing to do with me anymore. I packed up my gear, hailed a cab, and went home alone. Once I finished this commission and got paid, I could finally have this surgery. I wondered what I would forget. I hoped it would be her. I didn't want to feel this pain anymore. It would be for the best if I never thought of her again. Ethan gave me a very tight deadline and called constantly to check on my progress. He always made sure to have his phone on speaker so I could hear Olivia's voice in the background. Olivia played her part perfectly, cooing sweet nothings to him to satisfy his need to show off. She sounded like a docile kitten. As I painted her portrait, memories of her flooded my mind uncontrollably, from the slight curl of her eyelashes to the way the wind would catch the ends of her hair. The clearer the memories became, the more my head ached. I had to take painkillers just to stop myself from wanting to slam my head into a wall. The sunset in the photo was so vibrant that mixing the colors, applying the paint, and blending all was an incredibly difficult process. For 5 days, I barely slept, living off instant ramen. I was completely drained when I finally applied the last brushstroke. I stared at the finished piece. In a painting, Olivia's smile wasn't quite the same as in a photograph. It was infused with the warmth and beauty I remembered. Every stroke, every dab of paint was perfectly placed. I let out a long sigh, leaned back in my chair, and slowly closed my eyes, planning to rest for just a moment. Just then, my phone buzzed on the desk, its ringtone sharp and urgent. As I expected, it was Ethan. The second I picked up, he was already demanding, "Mr. Evans, is our painting done yet? The deadline is tomorrow. If you can't deliver it on time, I'll have to deduct from your payment, as per our contract." I hadn't spoken in so long that my voice was raspy, like my throat was coated in dust. I had to clear it twice. "Ahem, Mr. Miller, the painting is finished. Just let me know when would be a good time for me to deliver it." Ethan seemed surprised. He paused for a moment before saying, "How about now? Bring it to our place." I agreed and hung up. Since it was freshly painted, the oil wasn't completely dry yet, so it took some careful effort to package it securely. As I stood up, a wave of dizziness washed over me. My knees buckled, and I nearly collapsed. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself, shaking my head weakly and muttering, "After I deliver this painting, I really need to get some rest." Then I gave a bitter, self-mocking laugh. Taking sweet photos of my ex and her new boyfriend, turning it into a romantic painting, and now hand-delivering it to their home. How pathetic could I get? But first, I had to stay alive. I carried the wrapped canvas downstairs, got into a cab, and gave the driver the all-too-familiar address. I leaned my head against the window and drifted off to sleep. The taxi moved in fits and starts through the city traffic, eventually pulling over on a street lined with mansions. "Sir, wake up. We're here." The short nap hadn't helped at all. If anything, I felt even more exhausted. I groggily paid the driver and stumbled out of the car, my steps unsteady. I forced myself to the front door and rang the bell. Zing-jong, zing-jong. The bell rang for a long time, but no one answered. I couldn't tell if they were doing it on purpose. I could feel my breath shortening and my heart pounding in my chest. It was my body sending out a warning signal. After an agonizing wait, the door finally opened. Ethan stood there in a bathrobe, his hair dripping wet as if he had just gotten out of the shower. "Sorry about that, Mr. Evans," he said, his expression apologetic but his smile smug and triumphant. "We were a little busy. I was past the point of caring." My voice was flat. "It's fine, I didn't wait long." As I handed in the painting, I saw Olivia inside, dressed in a sheer silk nightgown. My lips barely moved as I whispered, "I hope you like it." The moment the words were out, I turned to leave, my vision starting to blur. My already trembling body gave out. Before I could even make it off the porch, my vision went black, and I collapsed forward without any warning. The last thing I heard before everything faded was Olivia's sharp, terrified scream, "Lucas!" The air was thick with the sterile, chemical smell of a hospital. I couldn't open my eyes, but I could faintly hear Olivia's voice. "No, not family. I'm just a friend. It's fine, I'll cover his hospital bills for now. Just call me if anything changes." After settling things, Olivia left in a hurry. I assumed she was going back to Ethan. I slowly regained consciousness, and a nurse called for my doctor. "Mr. Evans, your condition is quite serious," the doctor said, his expression grave. "You know what you're dealing with. Working yourself to the bone like this is incredibly dangerous for your health." I managed a weak smile. I had earned the money for the surgery, right? "Yes, you really need to have this surgery as soon as possible." The doctor didn't sugarcoat it, holding up my scans. "Look, the tumor is already showing signs of becoming malignant and spreading." After he finished, I asked, "Does my friend, the one who was just here, know about this?" The doctor shook his head. "This report is new. Besides, she's not listed as your next of kin, so we wouldn't disclose your medical information to her without your consent." "Good," I said, breathing a sigh of relief. For some reason, hearing the diagnosis didn't feel as heavy as I expected. In a strange way, it felt like a release. Once the surgery was over, the tumor would be gone. My memories might not be complete anymore, but if it meant I could forget Olivia, then maybe I wouldn't have to lie awake at night in pain anymore. That seemed worth it. I signed the consent forms, my hand steady with every letter. As I lay on a gurney, scenes from my past flashed before my eyes. The anesthesia took hold quickly, and I closed my eyes. I felt like I had been asleep for a very long time. There were no dreams in the darkness, just an endless void. When I finally opened my eyes again, I stared at the white ceiling, completely disoriented. A hand waved in front of my face. "You're awake, Lucas. Hey, give me some kind of reaction." I was still lost in a fog and didn't respond, so I heard him start yelling, "Nurse! Nurse, get in here. My buddy had surgery. Did they mess up his brain or something? He's just staring into space. Where's the doctor?" The shouting was so loud it finally broke through my haze. My eyes focused on the person beside my bed. "Chad, this is a hospital. Keep it down, you're going to disturb the other patients." Chad froze for a second, then a huge grin spread across his face. "You idiot. Why didn't you tell any of us you were going through something this serious?" I was worried sick. I frowned, trying to take stock of how I felt. My head feels empty, like I've forgotten a lot of things. Chad's expression immediately turned serious. "Do you remember Mike? What about David or Chris?" He rattled off a list of our friends' names, and I remembered all of them. Then Chad hesitated before asking the last one. Do you remember a person named Olivia?" My brow furrowed as I tried to remember. My thoughts felt like they were shrouded in a thick fog, preventing me from seeing things clearly. Vague images swirled at the edge of my mind, but I couldn't make any of them out. Seeing the pained and contorted look on my face, Chad quickly said, "Hey, if you can't remember, don't force it. You just woke up. You need to rest." I let out a long breath, giving up the effort. "Olivia? No, I really can't remember her." Chad had a strange look in his eyes as he said quietly, "That's probably for the best." "Was she important?" I asked. Chad forced a smile. "Nah, not at all. Just a girl from our college class. We didn't really keep in touch after graduation. I was just testing your memory, that's all. Here, let me ask you a few more things." I nodded, still a bit skeptical, and answered all of his questions. I remembered almost everything else, but there was a complete blank where Olivia should have been. It was just like Chad said. She was just some girl from our class who I had lost touch with after graduation. I spent a long time recovering in the hospital. During that time, Chad brought a lot of our friends by to visit. Every day, I was showered with more fruit, snacks, and protein shakes than I could possibly consume. My friends made all sorts of plans for trips we would take once I was out, which gave me something to look forward to. Being stuck in a hospital was boring, but having my friend around made it so much better. Finally, the day came for me to be discharged. My doctor came in to give me a long list of post-op instructions. Chad grabbed my bags, and we headed downstairs, both of us in high spirits. As we were walking out the main entrance, I noticed a couple standing nearby. The woman looked incredibly familiar. I saw Chad's expression tense up. "What is it?" he asked me. "Nothing," I said, still looking at the woman. I murmured, "I just feel like I've seen her before." Chad suddenly grabbed my wrist and laughed loudly. "Lucas, that's not cool, man. You can't just say, 'I think I've seen you before,' to every pretty girl you see. That's the oldest pickup line in the book." I laughed and played along. "Get out of here. Am I that kind of guy?" We were still laughing as we walked on, but then the woman suddenly called out my name. "Lucas, are you just going to pretend you don't see me? I'm the one who paid your medical bills a while back. The least you could do is say thank you." I was completely lost and looked at Chad for an explanation. "Already paid you back, didn't I?" Chad said to the woman, clearly annoyed. "Leave him alone." He started to pull me away, but the woman called out again. "Do you really think I care about the money? I was the one who brought you to the hospital in the first place. Is a simple thank you too much to ask?" Her aggressive tone was starting to annoy me. "Miss, do I know you? If you really were the one who brought me to the hospital, then thank you. I sincerely appreciate it. But I honestly don't know who you are, so please stop harassing me." Seeing how serious I was, the woman seemed stunned. Her cold demeanor melted away, replaced by confusion and then a flicker of panic. What did you say?" "Lucas, you don't know me." Just then, her eyes fell on my shaved head and the surgical scar that ran along my scalp. "What happened to you? Why didn't the doctors tell me you needed such a major surgery?" I frowned. So, even if we did know each other before, we obviously weren't that close, were we? After all, Chad knew, and plenty of my friends had come to visit me in the hospital. If this woman was so important, why wouldn't I have told her? With that thought, any lingering doubt vanished. I had no intention of getting tangled up with her. "Chad, let's go." The woman caught up to us again, grabbing my wrist. "No, you need to explain this to me. Why do you remember Chad, but you've forgotten me?" I felt a throbbing start in my temples and instinctively raised a hand to press against them. Seeing my discomfort, her aggressive tone softened. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm just getting ahead of myself." Chad couldn't take it anymore and snapped. "Olivia, will you just get a rest? Lucas just got out of the hospital. He doesn't have the energy to deal with your drama. Please, just leave him alone from now on." As he spoke, he shot a cold glare at the man, standing a short distance away. Olivia's brow was furrowed, her face a mask of frustration. "Lucas, it's me, Olivia. I'm here. That's enough." Chad swatted her hand away. "Your messy drama isn't worth bringing up." He pulled me toward the street. "Lucas, just ignore this crazy woman. If she has a problem, she should see a shrink instead of making a scene in public." "Lucas," Olivia called out, taking a few quick steps after us, but she didn't follow. I glanced back over my shoulder and saw her standing there, looking completely lost and heartbroken. Once we were in the car and away from the hospital, Chad let out a long sigh of relief. I couldn't help but ask, "Olivia, who is she? I remember you mentioned her name before." Chad thought for a moment, then gave a wry smile. "You know why I brought her up? Because that woman is a total psycho." I was taken aback. "She seems so pretty. How about you be the psycho?" Chad continued. "She was in our class, too. She had a huge crush on you, but you thought you two weren't compatible, so you always tried to avoid her." Thinking back to her aggressive behavior, I nodded. "Yeah, an emotionally unstable woman like that is definitely someone to keep your distance from." Chad shot me a subtle look and then said, "Exactly. But who would have guessed that the more you tried to avoid her, the more obsessed she became? When she couldn't win you over, She started spreading rumors, telling everyone you were her boyfriend, and then later that she had dumped you. She's seriously twisted. And did you see the guy who was with her earlier? I nodded, remembering him. That's her current boyfriend, Chad said. So, you tell me, what kind of person clings to you and makes a scene right in front of their own boyfriend? Isn't that totally psycho? His logic was sound. The more he spoke, the more I frowned. Finally, I nodded firmly. Yeah, that is definitely psycho behavior. Anyway, just stay away from her, Chad warned. If you see her, just run. Don't even think twice. Okay. I agreed, not noticing the subtle sigh of relief he let out. Back in my apartment, Chad helped me clean the place up. He didn't leave until evening. I watched the sky grow dark, and a strange sense of melancholy washed over me. I felt like something was missing, but I couldn't figure out what it was. After sitting in silence for a long time, an idea suddenly popped into my head. What if I moved somewhere else to live? Would things be easier? I don't know where the thought came from, but it felt like it had always been there, buried deep inside me. Had I always wanted to leave this city? Was it only now, after letting something go, that the idea was finally coming into focus? I watched the first stars appear in the sky, a restless energy building inside me. I couldn't wait any longer. I picked up the phone and called my boss. Boss, I want to quit. He sounded surprised. Lucas? Why so suddenly? Is everything okay? I told him what I was thinking, and he was quiet for a moment. To be honest, Lucas, I've always thought you were an exceptional talent, he said. You're great at your job, easy to work with. I'd really hate to see you go. But since you have your own plans, I won't try to stop you. Just remember, starting over in a new place where you don't know anyone can be expensive. You still have some outstanding payments from your last few projects. I'll just advance you the money now. He went on for a while longer, finally ending with, anyway, good luck out there. If you ever run into trouble, just give me a call. I'll always be here to help. Okay, thank you, I said with a smile before hanging up. A huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I slept soundly and dreamlessly that night, only to be woken up early the next morning by someone ringing my doorbell. Ring, ring. I groggily got out of bed and checked the time. It was just a little after 8. I opened the door to find Olivia standing there, looking furious. Lucas, where do you think you're going? She demanded, catching me completely off guard. I had only made the decision last night. The only person who knew was my boss. He might have told some of our coworkers, but he would never leak that information to a psycho like Olivia. Did she have a spy working at the studio? The thought only confirmed what Chad had told me. This woman was, without a doubt, a complete psycho. Noticing the strange look I was giving her, Olivia frowned. Well, say something. Why are you just staring at me? Slam. Without a word, I shut the door in her face. There was a moment of silence from the hallway, followed by a furious pounding. Oh, really, Lucas? You're going to slam the door in my face? Are you playing hard to get again? Who taught you that trick? I didn't say anything. Get out here, Olivia yelled. We need to talk this out. She kept pounding on the door until I couldn't take it anymore. Miss Campbell, are you insane? Why are you causing a scene in my apartment this early in the morning? The pounding stopped. Olivia's voice sounded hurt. You've yelled at me before. No matter what I did, you would never even say a harsh word to me. Lucas, what has gotten into you? Her words just made me more irritated. I have no idea what you're talking about. Please leave now, or I'm calling the police. Seeing her tantrum wasn't working, she switched tactics. Go ahead, call them. I'm not going anywhere. My head started to ache again, and I pressed my fingers to my temples. The crazy woman outside wasn't stealing or robbing anything. At worst, it was a disturbance complaint. The police wouldn't be able to do much. It was doubtful they would even send a car. After a moment's thought, I decided to call Chad instead. Huh? Lucas, it's early. What's up? Chad's voice was thick with sleep. Olivia is here, I said, getting straight to the point. She's right outside my door. What? That woke him up instantly. She's completely lost it. Okay, just hang tight. I'm on my way. I stayed by the door, half expecting her to try and break it down. From what I had seen, she seemed capable of it. As I stood there, I heard her voice again. Lucas, why are you being so guarded? Is it because of something Chad told you? Did he say bad things about me? I wasn't about to sell on my best friend, so I just stayed quiet. Oomph, she said, mostly to herself. I knew it. You two have been inseparable since high school, but I haven't done anything to hurt you. It's hurtful that you're acting this way. I replied coldly. Yesterday at the hospital, you wouldn't leave me alone. This morning, you're pounding on my door. What more do you want? Does it only count as hurting me if you show up with a knife? How could you say that? Her voice was muffled through the door. I would never do something like that. I didn't answer. I just leaned back against the door and slid down to the floor. A strange feeling was churning in my gut. Some hidden emotion was stirring inside me, but I couldn't identify it. Lucas, I'm so hungry, she said, her voice nostalgic. You used to always make me breakfast. I'm craving it right now. I want to eat something you've made for me. Her voice started to crack, and it turned into a plea. Will you please just open the door? For a moment, I hesitated. Logically, I should be doing exactly what Chad said and staying as far away from this bizarre woman as possible. But I could hear genuine helplessness and sorrow in her voice. It wasn't an act. It was real. And besides, I was curious. Were the things she was saying true? Had I really done all those things for her? Who was she to me, really? Just talking to her for a minute couldn't hurt, right? Finally, with a small sigh, I stood up and unlocked the door. The second it opened, Olivia threw herself into my arms. Lucas, you're such a jerk, she was sobbing, her voice thick with tears as she complained. Why were you pretending to be so cold? I really thought I was going to lose you. My mind went blank. I just stood there, completely frozen and unsure what to do. Just then, a man's voice echoed from the hallway. Olivia, what are you doing here so early? I've been looking all over for you. I looked up and saw the man from the hospital, Olivia's boyfriend. For some reason, the sight of him filled me with an instinctive disgust, and my voice turned icy. Miss Campbell, please let go of me. Have some self-respect. Olivia looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears, her brow furrowed in a hurt expression. You never used to talk to me like that. Like you said, that was the past, I replied impatiently. If you're going to keep dwelling on pointless things, then I think you should both leave. I gently removed her hands from my shirt and started to turn back inside. Just then, Ethan ran up to us. Olivia, what are you doing here? He asked, feigning concern. Olivia's fragile demeanor vanished. She turned on him, her tone sharp. What are you doing following me? She had just managed to get me to open the door, and Ethan had interrupted before she could even say anything, which clearly infuriated her. You left without saying anything. I was worried, he said, shooting me a wary look as if he thought I was going to steal her away. This was all so ridiculous. I started to close the door again. Olivia put her hand out to stop the door, pleading with me, Wait, don't close it. I still have more to say. Seeing her act so humbly made Ethan furious. Olivia, why are you begging him? He's a nobody with no money and no connections. Why are you debasing yourself for him? Slap. Olivia hit him across the face with a sharp backhand. What I do is none of your business, she seethed. I'll go wherever I want and see whoever I want. Who do you think you are to question me? Ethan held his hand to his reddening cheek, staring at Olivia in disbelief. After a moment of shock, he yelled, I'm your boyfriend. Don't I have the right to ask? You were just a toy I was using for fun. Did you really think you were something special? Olivia's voice was utterly cold. Don't ever bother me again. Get lost. At her words, all of Ethan's anger deflated. His tone became gentle. Olivia, let's just talk about this. Did I do something to make you mad? I'm sorry, whatever it was, I'm sorry. He started lightly slapping his own cheek as he spoke, but Olivia wouldn't even look at him. It was my fault. I never should have gone looking for spice, Olivia said, her voice full of regret. She then shot Ethan a venomous glare. Are you still here? He gritted his teeth and stormed away. His earlier apology had all been an act, a desperate attempt to hold on to her family's money and influence. But he was smart enough to know that since he couldn't marry into the Campbell family, the next best thing was to not make an enemy of their daughter. Can I come in and talk? Olivia asked me. I'm a little thirsty. I just wanted to get this over with, so I stepped aside and let her in. Whatever you have to say, make it quick. After she sat down, she just held her glass of water, opening her mouth to speak several times, but then stopping. She never said a word. Maybe she didn't know where to begin our story or how she could possibly explain it all to me. The awkward silence was finally broken when Chad arrived. He looked at me, then at Olivia, and sighed. "Lucas, I knew you'd be a soft touch." She was pounding on the door all morning. I couldn't take it anymore, so I let her in, I said. I don't know why I felt the need to explain myself, but Chad just gave me a look that said he understood. After he sat down, he turned to Olivia. "Miss Campbell, what is it you want?" "I want him to remember," Olivia said, looking at me. "I want him to remember our past." She told me everything, things I had completely forgotten. How we first met in college, how we fell in love after graduation, how we moved in together once our careers started taking off. Chad, listening from the side, would occasionally chime in with a detail or two, confirming that everything she was saying had really happened. It was a strange and surreal experience, listening to the story of my own life as if I were a stranger. When she was finished, I asked her, "So, you got a new boyfriend, Ethan, just for the spice of it, and I had to pack up my life and leave while you two watched." Olivia took a sip of water, unable to answer. I let out a cold, humorless laugh. "So why are you telling me all this? Do you expect me to remember it all and then just take you back?" I looked her straight in the eye. "Do you think you deserve that? I'm glad I had the surgery. I'm glad I forgot all of that humiliating history. And I'll be honest, getting to know you all over again, I can tell you I would never fall for a woman like you." My words hit her like a death sentence. She just sat there on the sofa, stunned into silence for a long time, before finally whispering in a hoarse voice, "I understand." After a few weeks of preparation, I finally put my plan into action. I moved. I found a place in a small, quiet town I had never been to before. I didn't want the stress of another big city. I used my savings to open a small studio in Ashland, Oregon, so I could keep doing what I love. The pace of life there was slow and relaxed, and I found it incredibly peaceful. One day, as I was opening my studio for the day, I noticed that the shop next door, which had been under renovation for weeks, was finally finished. It looked like a flower shop. I wanted to be a good neighbor, so I started to walk over to say hello. But just as I did, the door opened, and I saw a familiar face. She smiled at me. "Do you remember back in college? I always dreamed of opening my own flower shop. It's just that after I grew up, things with the family business got so busy that I never had time to do what I really loved. I should thank you, really. You gave me the courage to get away from all that and find out who I really am." I replied stiffly, "You're welcome. Goodbye." I turned and walked away quickly, but I could hear Olivia's voice calling after me, her calm demeanor gone. "Lucas, why are you looking at me like you've just seen a ghost?" she yelled. "I'm telling you right now, I don't care where you go. I'm going to follow you. If it takes me a year to win you back, so be it. If it takes 3 years, fine. 10 years. I felt like I was about to lose my mind. Without even turning around, I yelled back, "You're more persistent than a ghost, and, frankly, more terrifying."